Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
What's going on, folks? Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast 2023 official, the first preview show of many to come. And if there's something that you need to notice, if you're watching, of course, you look down below. Look at that, 0-0 on the board. Listen, we got two belts back there. I got the championship status of last year, but it is a new year. I have no championship status. AJ, my co-host, has no championship status. So all that you need to know is that you're in the beginning of a beautiful journey that's about to take place over the course of the next 12 months. So let me introduce the man that breaks it down with me as always. Could not do it without him. This is the co-host, the Santa Fe bomber, the New Mexico native himself, AJ. Brother, listen, this is the closest it's ever been. I mean, come on, man, 0-0. This is what we love to see. How ambitious are you feeling? How are you feeling in general, brother?
Brother, I'm ambitious as ever. Derick, it's 0-0, and we're going into it headstrong. And you know, Derick, I realized something, man. I was sitting in the sauna having a little meditation, kind of reflecting on what this year is going to be bringing, man. And I should have known better. And thinking about it all last year, I should have thought about when we were playing basketball in Portland together. Anytime, we're gamers over here, brother. Right. We're in it for the win, and I know it's going to be a very competitive year going forward in that exact same kind of mentality and charisma we always have, brother. So I'm very ambitious. How you feeling, man?
I'm feeling dangerous, brother. Let's go. I'm feeling dangerous. I did my film prep. I'm feeling very rejuvenated. I'm feeling energized. I got a new battery pack in me. I don't know what it is. A month off of fights, man. Now I'm like, what? It's Saturday fight night? Let's get it. And I don't even want to mince too much words, man. This isn't the recap introductory show. We did that last week, right, on our MMA award show, which, folks, you should definitely check out if you haven't done yet. But we're ready to turn the page and we're ready to move on to 2023. So without any further ado, folks, I want to introduce a slightly different structure that we're going to be showcasing here at the Bloody Water Podcast. We did a lot of analytic stuff last year, right? We talked to you about prop bets. We talked to you about over and unders. We talked to you about the money line bets. We really dive deep in here. We have one primary goal on this program that we want to implement, and that is to make you as much money as we possibly can. Now, in order to do that, we're going to take a little bit of a step back from some of that analytical stuff. For an example, we're going to rehash on the over and unders, but we're not going to really be tracking that because there's only two things that matter. Did you get the pick right, and did you get the methodology of the pick right? That's the only thing that ultimately matters. You want to go crazy on the over and unders by all means, but if you want to make money, tune in because you already dig what's about to go down. So, AJ, one more time, let the people know, what do they need to do? They need to subscribe to the channel. What else do they need to do to give us a little bit of growth for 2023?
Derick, you said it best, man. Subscribe to the channel, but what helps more, folks, send something, send a link, send anything, send a follow to one of the friends that is out there also looking to make a little bit of money come 2023, man. These fights are going to be week after week, month after month, and throughout the entire year. So for the entire year, you're looking to put some green in your pocket. You're looking to spread some love to the ones you love the most, man. Make sure you follow, subscribe, and share it with your friends so that way they can get the picks in and get the money going so we can have a great 2023, folks.
That is absolutely right. Now, with that being said, no more skipping around the bush, no more none of that. We're going to jump into our TLDR. And as promised last year, AJ, we're going to give you guys a quick flash on the screen. 0-0. These are the picks. Screenshot it now if you're trying to get them and run to your local sports book. But if you're in it for the long haul, which the real dedicated true ones are, then you're about to listen to this breakdown, baby. Let's get it. So one more time, folks, subscribe. That was your screenshot opportunity. If you missed it, well, rewind, screenshot again, and we're going to actually break down that main card. So without any further ado, welcome to the first main card breakdown for the Bloody Water Podcast of 2023. Let's get it.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
And it's almost like when you come into this, it's like deja vu. It's like, hold on, wait, I thought we just broke down Sean Strickland. Wait, what do you mean? Folks, in case you're out of the loop, in case you've been living underneath a rock, Sean Strickland is stepping in on short notice, actually saving the first main event of 2023 because Kelvin Gastelum, controversy aside, injury, I guess that's what we'll call it, quote unquote injury. I don't want to disparage anybody's name because at the end of the day, combat sports is a very interesting game in and of itself. And I think it's very, very fair to say, AJ, that skin infections and nasty, just disgustingness occurs often. So before we actually jump into this, man, what does this mean to you that the first main event of 2023 already jumped off with like, all right, we canceling this last minute? What does that mean to you?
You know, Derick, it's actually par for the course for me, man. I feel like with all the lumps and the boils and everything that presented when COVID came out, Dana White, the UFC, everybody's already kind of ready for this. And that's why they know that there's company men like Sean Strickland that are willing to answer that call and come in and actually put a good fight together. Now, if that happens, if he comes in a little gun shy like last time, we're going to break all of that down. But it's on par for the course for me, Derek. I'm not too surprised, man, and I don't think anybody at the UFC was either. Are you shocked to see it? Do you think this is going to set a tone for the rest of the year, or is this just another speed bump on the path?
I don't know. I think that this sets the tone for the rest of the year, man. You never want to start off this way, but it's not about how you start. It's about how you finish. And I'll tell you what, people have probably already completely forgotten about Kelvin Gastelum and him supposed to showcase here. And I don't mean that to be like people don't care about him, but I also mean that that goes to show like the trajectory of the career. Nonetheless, Sean Strickland steps in, saves the day. Doesn't matter what you think about the man. He's as game as they come. So with that being said, Nassourdine Imavov, French prospect, surging up the rankings, goes from the A side instantly to the B side. Goes from a very tough matchup in Kelvin Gastelum to potentially a much, much tougher matchup in Sean Strickland. Now, if there's one thing that I think we need to be honest about here, AJ, is that Sean Strickland, ranked number 7, arguably, a lot of people thought that he got a win over Jared Cannonier. I picked Cannonier, so I'm happy with my decision there, but it was a close fight. So do you think that this step up in competition is advantageous or disadvantageous for Nassourdine Imavov? Because at the end of the day, you win, you jump up way more than you would have against Gastelum. And if you lose, well, you lost to Sean Strickland, and you weren't really supposed to win in the first place. So what do you think?
I think it all depends on how Imavov performs in the fight, Derek. If Imavov is able to have a performance where it's looking good on the stand-in, man, he's able to kind of perform the same way Sean Strickland did. That Jared Cannonier did, excuse me. It sets a very big tone that he's able to fight a guy who fought Jared Cannonier, who also fought Izzy, and they all went 5 rounds together. You know, there's a lot of praise that can go into Imavov doing that. So I think there's a big, big come up that he's having going into this fight. And therefore, he's probably not too stressed about it, man. I mean, yeah, you're going to have to change opponents. It's going to be a lot harder of at least a stand-up battle. We'll see if there's any mix-up that's going to happen on the ground. But as far as, you know, the projection or the trajectory and the path forward, Nassourdine Imavov, is looking very, very good. Now, for Sean Strickland, though, I'm a little worried, Derek. You see the interviews, you see the chaos that he has all around him. He himself, has already said, yeah, the gas tank's there. I mean, he's not gonna be as shy as he was gun shy as he was last time. There's gonna be a lot of things going through Sean Strickland's mind. Do you think he's actually shaken off that KO as well as the quote unquote robbery that happened in his last 2 fights, Derek? Are we going to get a focused Sean Strickland, or are we just going to see chaos one more time?
To be completely frank here, I really do think Sean Strickland is going to be coming in here with a masterful level of focus. I think that he feels robbed from his last fight. I mean, he's openly said it. He's like, I got robbed in my last fight. Probably not the best mentality to take coming into this new fight. But ultimately, if there's one thing that we know about Sean Strickland is that he is training around the clock. Given his interviews and his antics, I don't think that we can buy into that any further. We can't really read into that being like, that's the guy that's going to show up, because even the last fight against Cannonier, the interviews were still goofy, but he came in there and he was game. He handled business. My real question here to you, man, because I'm going to kind of flip it back on it, is Sean Strickland going to have so much stuff going on in his head coming from the knockout? The knockout's long gone against Alex Pereira. We're not even thinking about that anymore. I think it's more going to be volume, style of fighting. We saw the judges didn't award you the victory with your style of fighting in the last one. Do you do rinse, wash, repeat and hope for a different outcome? And it almost does, in a way, sounds like insanity, right? That's what they all say. But at the end of the day, let's be honest. Like, you can still win this fight with this same style, especially when the judges are being called out for being incompetent and for not knowing how to do their job. Because in his head, he's like, dude, I just completely outclassed Cannonier. Not really the case, but in all honesty, do you think, like, that's the question, it's about the judges. Do you think the judges now are on the hot seat and are like, I got to get this shit right?
Well, it's interesting too, Derek, because having the judging scoring system, it's so weird, because if Imavov is able to evade the punches, not take the damage, but the output of Sean Strickland actually shows up this time, how do you score the fight, man? I mean, Imavov's looking good. He's not getting scratched up. Then it's kind of up in the air again. But if Sean Strickland is able to pull the trigger, is able to get in on the inside in the punching range, in the boxing range he likes, and start doing that work, I feel like the judges have to award it, man. If you go back-to-back cards at the same performance, because it's not enough time has elapsed for Sean Strickland to really change his game plan. No. So if you go back-to-back, same methodology, arguably winning the fight either way, Man, it's going to be a rough seat. And again, if like you said before, man, setting the tone, that'd be a rough tone to set for the rest of 23 for the judging.
100%. And now let's talk about the actual X's and O's here, because the reality is Nassourdine Imavov, karate style, right? Big, heavy right hand, beautiful check left hook, big kicks. But if there's one thing you notice about his game plan and his style of fighting is that he's a low volume fighter, right? If you look at the numbers, it won't really represent that. But when you watch him, it's a lot of pot shots. It's a lot of just like, boom, come in with the counter spot, right? Hit you with the big power. We know Sean Strickland's going to be touching you the whole fight. So when Nassourdine Imavov gets out of his last win, which, I mean, he's on a 3-fight win streak, man. You just beat Ian Heinisch, you beat Edmund Shabazian, you beat Joaquin Buckley. All very impressive. But let's be honest, man. Round 3 of that Buckley fight, things got a little worrisome. You know what I mean? Buckley, who is not nearly, I'm not going to say he's not the fighter that Sean Strickland is, but with such a different style of opponent, Sean Strickland is going to be able to keep it on you at a steady pace for 5 rounds. If you were gassed out at round 3, even though it was a high activity matchup, that's my big worry, man. Because I'm going to be honest, I was really leaning Imavov going into this thinking Sean Strickland short notice, but I was like, gas tank, problem. Volume, problem. Mentality, you get lulled into a firefight a little too easy, problem. Sean Strickland has none of those issues. So do you have any of those concerns, or do you like see where I'm coming from there?
No, I see where you're coming from, especially with the gas tank issue, Derek. That's the one thing that worries me. But what did, and again, we can't really play into the antics of Sean Strickland, but he himself was worried about the 5-round fight. He made a comment saying, "Oh, my cardio is fine. I'm training around the clock." But luckily it's not going to be a 5-round fight. Like, there's a way he said it, that a way that kind of gave me a little like, man, I know he's training and I know he's doing stuff, but he was admittedly planning a snowboarding trip. So, not fully focused. But at the same time, and Sean Strickland doesn't need to be a fighter, or isn't a fighter that needs to be focused. This dude can come in and just get into a brawl. And if Imavov, like you said, is easily lulled into that brawl, then we're going to be in for some firefight or for some fireworks. And that's what I'm excited for, to see a Sean Strickland fight, man.
Who takes this fight to the ground first?
Imavov.
And that's the interesting thing. Sean Strickland, who is a very well-versed grappler, who chooses not to use it, I think it's going to be a lot more difficult to get him to the ground than most people are probably going to be led to believe. They're going to think Imavov, oh yeah, this dude could just take him down at any time. I mean, I don't really know if that's true. And if Sean Strickland can keep the fight on the feet and just keep you in that boxing range and piece you up little by little for 5 rounds, he can win the point battle. Now let's talk about these props, man. This is the really odd thing. TKO prop. 330 plus 335 for Sean Strickland, plus 350 for Imavov. The odds makers are thinking that there's a slight better chance that Strickland knocks out Imavov as opposed to Imavov knocking out Strickland. And in my opinion, I think it's going to be very difficult, if he cannot initiate grappling sequences and take advantage of that, for Imavov to win a decision here, in my opinion. So which one of these odds do you actually like, man? Because to be honest, for Imavov, I don't like any of these props. I don't understand any of these props. What do you think?
It's a little perplexing as well, Derek, but personally, I like the plus 350 TKO knockout for Imavov, strictly because Sean Strickland, he likes to stay there, man. He likes to stay in that pocket, fleeing things down the pipe. And as good as he is takedown defenses, if he's worried about, he's also not making the reads in the striking. So if Imavov is able to have just a little bit of success, I think the counter striking of Imavov is going to pay dividends later on in the fight. And hopefully that gas tank doesn't run out, brother, because like you said, that is a big asterisk right there.
Yeah.
I like the TKO prop. At the same point, man, I mean, it's like you said, it's interesting why it's that way.
I agree, and I'll tell you what, man. I think that Sean Strickland being clipped a couple big times by Jared Cannonier, one of the biggest punchers in the division, and not really flinching, really showed a lot about his chin. So Imavov, very, very powerful puncher himself. Is he a Jared Cannonier level power puncher? I don't know. That's yet to be determined. I would say no right now until he shows us something different. I have to rock with the Sean Strickland decision here. I know that's counterintuitive. I know you say, dude coming in on short notice, 5-round fight, going to win a decision. Yeah, right. He's not some wrestler who's just going to hold you down the whole time. No, but there is a style of fighting that produces results. And though he came up short in his last one, Sean Strickland also cannot afford to lose his 3rd fight in a row. You know what I mean? So I don't think that there's going to be this level of, oh, I'm just a company man, just Donald Cerrone, cowboy in it. You know what I mean? I think that there's going to be a level of ferocity here, and I think he's going to try to prove that. Like, if there's a winnable fight here, this is the winnable fight. Last 2 fights, Alex Pereira, Jared Cannonier. Now you get Nassourdine Imavov a comer up. For Imavov, literally, you're coming off of the 3 biggest wins of your career in Shabazian, Buckley, and Heinisch. I mean, come on, bro. Sean Strickland fought Jack Hermanson, Uriah Hall, Christoph Jocko. Like, he's got a lot of these big wins that I think are completely in another stratosphere in comparison to Imavov's competition level, right? So I think this is just a different level of opposition right now, and these are two guys that are in different parts of their career. Either way, this is going to be a really fun one. And fun fact before we walk off here today, because like I said, I'm going decision. My man AJ's rocking with the TKO. This opened at -110 a pop. It is currently looking like Imavov is swole to a -125 favorite, +105 comeback for Sean Strickland. So interesting, but that's your main event, folks. And now to talk about a co-main event that, AJ, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I was like, of all the fights, this is the co-main event, huh? Okay. You've got 50K Dan Ige versus the Leech Damon Jackson. Or not the Leech. Is he the Leech? He might be the Leech.
He's the Leech, Damon Jackson, brother.
He is the Leech, absolutely. And this, to me, is very telling. This goes to show that you have one fighter, ranked fighter, Dan Ige, who was on a comeuppance of a comeuppance, who's now been brought down to earth a little bit. And now you have to fight a very dangerous guy with a very little upside and very high risk. I like this fight for Damon Jackson. I think this is a very winnable fight for Damon Jackson, but I also think Dan Ige has been fighting, he's been underperforming, in my opinion. And I think that this, of just same spot for Sean Strickland, of all the guys he's fought recently, this is the most winnable fight in my opinion. Now, you might disagree, but talk to me, man. Like, what advantages does Damon Jackson have in this fight that he could really bring to the table against Dan Ige?
It has to be the backpack, Derick. The ground game, the control that Damon the Leech Jackson, that's why he's nicknamed the Leech, man. He will grab onto you and hold on like dear life. And Ige, but the thing is, man, for as impactful as Ige is, as powerful as he can be, like you said, he's underperforming. But when he starts to get swelled on, when he starts to get held down, then we don't really see the power of Ige come through. So if 50K Ige can stay away, get on his bike, maintain distance, start popping some shots, get on the inside and knock out Damon Jackson, then we're looking for a 50K Ige fight, man. And that's classic Ige. He's an exciting fighter. But then you have Damon Jackson, man, on the other side, where this guy may not be as exciting, may not be as crowd friendly, but he can hold you down, he can beat you up. And if that's going to be the case for this fight, it's a rough one for Dan Ige going into this one, man, because like you said, he needs this fight to happen. He's really gone on a downhill slope, and to lose to, and I don't want to say Damon Jackson is a lesser opponent, but compared to the other fighters he was fighting, not as big of a name value.
Sure. And then this is the other thing you got to take into consideration, though, man. Let's just look at the dudes. Like, you lost 4 of your last 5 fights if you're Dan Ige. That's terrible. But you fought Movsar Evloev, Josh Emmett, Chan Sung Jung, the Korean Zombie. You got that one-hitter quitter on Gavin Tucker. That was beautiful, right? And then you lost to Calvin Kattar. I mean, bro, that is a killer's row right there. Damon Jackson, on the other hand, you're picking up respectable victories, man. You just knocked out Pat Sabatini. Like, that was phenomenal. But before that, Dan Argueta, who's on this card, going to be fighting, right? Kamola Kirk, that's a good win right there. Charles Rosa, that's a good win. And then you get knocked out by Ilia Topuria. So the only point that I'm bringing up here is that these are two different stages of careers in terms of fighters, man. And Dan Ige is getting an opportunity. First off, you're risking your ranking, right? Because if you lose this fight, goodbye, top 15, brother. You're out of there. Damon Jackson, opportunity of a lifetime. I just think that if Dan Ige can avoid the grappling here, and do some anti-jiu-jitsu, anti-wrestling stuff and really hammer home on that power, he can have some success. Damon Jackson, though, man, height advantage. It looks like he has same reach, height advantage, though, but the one advantage he does have is that Fortis MMA camp, right? Saif Saud, the general. That's going to be big right there, doing film study on Dan Ige. So really, in terms of willpower right here, man, who would will this one out, in your opinion, between a Damon Jackson and Dan Ige?
That's an interesting question, man, because I don't see quit in either of these guys. Instantly, in my mind, I think Damon Jackson. Mm-hmm. But at the same point, we've never seen Ige quit. We've never seen Ige really take a backward step. Like, in my mind, this dude is all action, forward pressure all day long, and down for a dogfight. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of leaning Ige a little bit, man. I don't know. What do you think?
There's something that tells me Damon Jackson, man, there's something different about this guy. He's fought under some very tough circumstances previously and gritted out wins. I think it was just a fight or two ago, man, where he had lost a loved one and he had to go and fight underneath that pressure. And he picked up the win, man. That's fantastic. I'm not saying that fighters don't do that all the time, because they kind of do. But there's something like that. For a Dan Ige, I just think that, just like I always talk about momentum, this is another momentum swing. If you lose this one, bro, it's only a foregone conclusion that inevitably your MMA path is coming to a close eventually if you can't get back on track, right? You can't lose this many fights in a row, 4 fights in a row. But then again, he's 31 years old and he's got a lot of time. I like Dan Ige in this spot. This is the whole point. We're looking at these props, man, and you see plus 250 TKO for Dan Ige. I like that. I really, really like that. One thing that I think is interesting is for Damon Jackson, plus 175 is his best prop. And I get that. Dan Ige is not going to be an easy guy to finish. But I kind of like that plus 550 submission too, man. I think that Damon Jackson might be able to put something together. And if he can put that backpack on, I can see a submission victory here, man. I totally can. The question becomes here, do you think that he can get that quick, you know what I mean, backpack on him, that quick single leg, that quick double, and just get him to the ground and nullify him? Do you think it'll be that easy?
I don't think it'll be that easy, but come round, 2.5, 3, somewhere at the start of 3, they gave, Damon Jackson a little towel on the hands so he could actually get a little grip going into Ige. That's when I think the shots will pay off, especially the gas tank of Damon Jackson really does pay dividends late in those rounds. This is actually the hardest pick I've had on this card, Derek. There's some really good fights coming down the pipe, but Damon Jackson just provides a little, he has so much to win. But I'm going Ige as well because there's so much on the line. You said it yourself, Derek. He's 31 years old. There's a lot of fight left in this kid. And as a 31-year-old, man, I'm telling you, you feel young, you feel spry. Fighting another guy who is also, 22-4, been in the game a long time. I feel like Dan Ige thinks he has a little bit of momentum on his side, a little bit of younger vibe going for him and going to be pushing the pace. He needs the win. I'm going Dan Ige, man. And something tells me that decision is the bet to make, that plus 250. But at the same point, that's a lot of keeping Damon Jackson off of you, keeping the leech away. I'm going to take the plus 250 TKO prop, I'm looking for uppercuts and knees down the middle, trying to keep him off, and some chin music. Let's hope we're seeing 50K for Ige. I don't know, Derek, what do you think?
100%. I like that TKO prop. I'm going to roll with it. I can see some. You get him to the ground, you start trying to work that ground game, and then you fall victim to, trying to do that in MMA, man. This isn't jiu-jitsu, right? So I'll take the TKO for Dan Ige. I like that you're seeing it the same way right here. I will say, though, there's 2 dogs on this main card that I think can have some success, and Damon Jackson is definitely one of them. And I say dog, I mean, come on, minus 125, minus 105, hardly a dog if you want to call it that. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, Damon Jackson has swollen to a plus 100 underdog, minus 120 favorite is Dan Ige. So, I mean, it's getting close. It's getting close. But that is your co-main event. Now, for this next bout right here, this is an interesting one because this is one, and I'll let the cat out the bag right here. I'm not going to say the picks, but I will say that we have a difference of opinion on this fight here. And this is a real stylistic clash, man. You got Punahele Soriano, man, a dude who has, one clean shot from that guy and that's game over. Then you got a Roman Kopylov who, while I don't think he quite gets the credit that he deserves, right? He had a little bit of a slow start to his UFC tenure. Very technical fighter, very, very technical fighter, and possesses the skill set to nullify a lot of guys. That's the issue that I have here, though, AJ, is that can you nullify a Punahele Soriano for all 15 minutes of this fight? Because all it takes is 1 second, 2 seconds for him to hit that one blow and to get the win. And I think a perfect example of that is his last fight against Dalcha Lungiambula. You watched that fight. He was frustrated. Puna was frustrated after that first round, man. Things were not really looking his way. But all he needed is what? One right cross to land, and that finished the entire show. And we're not talking about your average middleweight. We're talking about Dalcha Lungiambula, champion. I actually don't think he's longer with the company. I think he actually just got cut from the UFC. But the point remains, that's a scary guy. You don't want to fight that guy. Roman Kopylov, he's also coming off of a fantastic win against Alessio Di Chirico, where he got a finish, man, a late round finish, and that's a scary guy too. So when it comes down to the technical prowess and it comes down to the multifaceted, explosive fighter who is Punahele Soriano, who do you think if this goes 3 rounds, who has an advantage over the course of 3 rounds?
If it goes 3 rounds, Derek, Roman Kopylov all day long, man. The one problem I see with Puna, like you said, Derek, this dude can put you to sleep within seconds, within a millisecond. Next thing you know, you're waking up in the locker room and you're asking what happened, all right? But come round 2.5, Punahele really starts to take a downturn, man. We've seen in a couple of his fights where they start, the belly starts extending, the lungs start huffing and puffing. This dude's holding on to you. And with how technical a fighter Kopylov is, this dude can really get on his bike and make Puna work, make those muscles a disadvantage. But at the same point, man, the one thing that does scare me, Derick, we say it all the time, you got to stay perfect for 15 minutes. Can Kopylov do that when this dude is throwing just hammers down the pipe? Because Puna has some serious power. And he's one of the guys I think of, if there's ever a train, a train track you're standing on and Puna's coming down the tracks, man, get 3 states down the way because this dude has some serious power coming down the pipe. And it makes it a very interesting fight for Kopylov. Now, to that point, I think this is the moment Kopylov will really see his growth expand, man. If he can get one over on Puna and in a technical way, in a knockout, something flashy, something where he sets it up, comes across, then I think we're going to see the stars for Kopylov coming, man. There's a lot of support for all the Russian fighters out there, and Kopylov is one of the ones that doesn't just use the ground game. He's skilled down there, but he likes to strike. So he's a little bit fan-friendly to the American crowd, to all the people that like to see the brawling style. But you don't want to brawl with Puna, do you, Derick?
You don't. And that's one thing that I was actually going to say is that you would think, being such a technical fighter, that Kopylov would be like this technician that can get the takedown anytime he wants. People forget, Puna's a wrestler, bro. This dude can wrestle, man. So that's the other advantage here, is that if you need to take the shot, he can hold you down too. And he can knock your face off. I do agree. This goes 3 rounds. Things might be looking a little tough for Soriano. But we also understand that in judging, if you land a knockdown in every single one of these rounds, well, look at the scoring. You could win a decision that way, right? Now, I have to go, and I'm going to be just completely frank here, I have to go with the time-tested, the true methodology. Give me the TKO at Punahele Soriano, plus 175 right here, man. I like that. Even though it's tough, because if you look at Kopylov's 2 losses in the UFC, they've come to grapplers. They haven't been against these big punchers. So I like Puna here for the TKO. The question is going to be, I mean, if we're looking at what the over and under is, man, I mean, this is 2.5 rounds for the over and under. It's the minus 140 for the under, about plus 110 for the over. But why is it at 2.5 rounds, given that this is a Puna fight? And most Puna fights, 1.5 rounds for the over and under. So does that give you any intuition right there of how the odds makers are seeing this fight, like, potentially playing out?
Well, and even though Puna is the favorite on the money line right there, I think they're thinking this might go the distance, and that's why it's above 2.5. Kopylov is hard to put away. I was actually trying to look right now. Has he been knocked out? I don't know. He's only been decisioned and rear naked choked. Carl Robertson and Duraev. Yep. So to get a knockout on this dude is pretty hard. And to that point, Kopylov has 8 knockouts. 8 knockouts, no submissions. This dude can crack, and he has a lot of counter punches. I was looking at that plus 375 decision for Kopylov. I'm going with Kopylov on this one. If Puna's in there throwing heat, and then Kopylov's able to set something up, I can see a knockout happening here. It's a big risk. I'm actually going to take that knockout, man. Plus 350 TKO for Kopylov. I know. I was going to go decision, folks. I'll let it out of the bag. I was going to go decision. But it's a little juicy, 350, and there's something on it. We'll see.
That is juicy, and I want to actually take a look right now, because now I feel like my man Punahele Soriano is being a little disrespected right here. But let's take a look. Punahele Soriano, in his entire MMA career, he only has, 2 losses, both by decision, never been knocked out. So once again, my man AJ comes in, starts the year off bold. Once again, he predicts the knockout for the man who's never been knocked out. I will say this. Kopylov can also try to set something up and just get clipped by Soriano, and the fight can be over. So, I mean, listen, someone's going to be right here, but that is going to be a good one. Let's move on to this next one, man. And this is a fight right here, AJ, where I have to be honest. Even though I'm a fan of these fighters, even though I think that they're very talented fighters, both of them, in the perception of the fans, I mean, snooze fest incoming, right? A lot of people are not excited about this matchup right here, but you have a high stakes matchup. 2 top 5 fighters in the women's bantamweight division. Number 2, Ketlen Vieira versus number 5, Raquel Pennington, man. And at the end of the day, we're in search for who's going to fight Amanda Nunes, right? Eventually, she's going to have to rematch with Juliana Pena, but after that rematch, and let's say Amanda Nunes is still victorious and she's still the champion, somebody's got to step up. And Ketlen Vieira, honestly, right now is looking like that person. Now, I'm not going to lie, AJ. I thought that Holly Holm beat Ketlen Vieira. I thought she won. I mean, I'm not even going to take that back. I thought she won. But Ketlen Vieira, on paper at least, and that's all that matters, in the history books, it goes down, she got the win. So if she can get a definitive win against Raquel Pennington here, there is nothing in my mind that makes me think she won't get a title shot. You know what I mean? Depending on the outcome of the inevitable Nunes versus Pena rematch, if that does happen. I'm sure it will happen. But my question to you here, given that fan perception is very low on this one, this does have a potential to be a banger, right? Look at these two fighters, man.
I agree with you, Derick. And I was kind of thinking the same thing, man. When I saw this, I was excited for this fight. I'm a big fan of both of these fighters, man, both Raquel Pennington as well as Ketlen Vieira. And as much as Ketlen Vieira did have a little bit of snooze fest, and I agree, I think Holly Holm won that fight. And she was catching a lot of heat from just not putting the output that her coaches are wanting her to. Ketlen Vieira is still a very dangerous fighter. And with that, Raquel Pennington coming in, man, I think both of these fighters know that they're being overlooked or underrated or kind of slighted in a bit. So we might see a firefight here, Derick. We might see something very exciting, especially with the flack that Ketlen Vieira caught on her last fight. I think this one's going to be a lot of fun, man. I mean, we're always talking about how good fighters are, or good female fighters are going into this sport. And these are two at the top of the cream of the crop, man. And these are the ones we're going to be seeing fight Amanda Nunes soon enough. You know, once all that mix them up happens, soon enough, Ketlen Vieira is, you know, one of the ones, as well as Raquel Pennington, has a great shot to be fighting in there. We're just going to see it. Are we going to see a fight? Are we going to see a firefight here, Derick? Or are we going to see a snooze fest, man? Because sometimes with the wrestling that both of these fighters can do, it cancels each other out, or we're on a hump fest. I don't know. I don't know which one to see.
I'll tell you what, man. I have a feeling Ketlen Vieira is going to try to grapple in this fight a lot. And here's the reason why. Raquel Pennington, even though she got a win against Pannie Kianzad like 3-4 fights ago, right? Pannie Kianzad, who was not the biggest fighter in the world. She's big, but she's not the biggest fighter in the world. She had a lot of success in the clinch against Pennington, holding her up against the cage. Kianzad inevitably lost the fight. But the point is, if she can have that type of success just kind of bullying Raquel Pennington around the cage a little bit, Ketlen Vieira's jiu-jitsu is no joke, bro. She can get you to the ground. If you look at the difference between these two fighters, too, like I'll pull up the UFC stats. Hold on, let me actually show the people what it's looking like. So if we take a peek right now and we look at the UFC stats for Ketlen Vieira and for Raquel Pennington, what we're going to be looking at is this. Look at the takedown differential, right? 1.5 takedowns, 40% accuracy for Ketlen Vieira, 92% takedown defense. 1 takedown for Raquel Pennington, 28% accuracy with the 63% defense right there. So the point that I'm making here is that I honestly do think that in terms of like a clinch fighter, Raquel Pennington is a very talented clinch fighter. She's got good striking. She's a slow glacier-paced fighter, which is slow and steady, but it does win the race. She's on a 4-fight win streak for a reason. Ketlen Vieira, while I think she's a little more devastating with the power, a little more explosive of a fighter, I think that she's going to be looking to take this fight to the ground and really mix it up there. I mean, in that case, what is the best path to victory for Raquel Pennington? And let's pick some props and move on to the next.
Man, for Pennington, I think it's going to have to be bullying the bully. That's the way. If you can make Ketlen Vieira doubt herself and kind of fight off instinct instead of game plan, then you're looking good. And if Pennington is able to hurt Vieira going into this fight, really put her on her heels, really have those eyes open wide, then Pennington's going to be looking good. The striking's going to be good. And I don't think we're going to see a lot of that ground game that you're talking about, that Ketlen Vieira. I also think she's going to do that. I think the ground game is going to be there, going to be for the taking. But if you can hurt her as she shoots in, you're not going to want to shoot in anymore.
So I don't know what this means to you, but this fight opened up another one as a pick'em, -110 a pop, right? Ketlen Vieira is now a -130 favorite with the +110 comeback for Raquel Pennington. Though Raquel, I've made a lot of winnings on betting on Raquel Pennington as of late because I feel like she's such an overlooked fighter. But I'll tell you, this is one of those fights that I think Vieira has more momentum, and I think that there is going to be it's going to be tough for Raquel to win this fight unless she really hurts her on the feet, man. Unless she really gets that respect and doesn't let Vieira kind of walk her down. So with that being said, man, you look at the props. I don't really like much of these props, but I do think it's interesting that Raquel Pennington has a better decision prop than Ketlen Vieira, because I'm going with Ketlen Vieira winning by decision, of course, right? So tell me who you got, how do you see it, and what do you think of that prop differential?
Yeah, I don't know how the money line grew because I also see this one as a pick 'em, man. And maybe it's because Ketlen Vieira, she's a little, recently known. I'm not sure, man, but I like the Ketlen Vieira decision as well. That plus 140 speaks a lot of praise right there. And it's going to be what I think is an up and down washing machine style of fight. Now, like you said before, Derek, for a couple fights ago, how are the judges going to see this one? Whoever's on top wins the fight. I think it's going to be Ketlen Vieira controlling the positions, really putting it to her. Plus 140 sounds good to me. I'm interested to see how a lot of the bettors are making these ones go because that's why the monies are swelling. But why is it seen that way? We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, shoot, man. If you're a real MMA fan, you know Rocky Pennington is a dangerous out, and it's not going to be easy for Ketlen Vieira. I mean, she could hardly get past Holly Holm. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying Holly Holm. You don't say that in a negative way. That's the preacher's daughter right there, bro. Have some respect. Santa Fe's own. You know what I'm saying? New Mexico's own, I guess I should say. But the point is, Rocky Pennington, she's tough out, man. Tough out right there. This is going to be a good fight. All right, let's move on to the first bout of the card. And honestly, AJ, throwback for the real fans of the Bloody Water podcast, the real supporters, when we would do our matchmaking segment and we'd be like, all right, these are fights that we want to see in the future. I can almost guarantee that this is something that we've made, man. Umar Nurmagomedov versus Raoni Barcelos. I mean, if there's one thing that we can definitively say about Raoni Barcelos right now, AJ, I think it has to be, without a shadow of a doubt, this is a game fighter. He does not give one singular fuck about match make me perfectly no, I'll take anybody, anywhere. I know that I deserve to be a top 15 fighter, but I'm just going to keep fighting these fucking studs anyways. And this is his opportunity right here, be in this game to say, all right, number 11, Umar Nurmagomedov, let's get it. Before we talk about anything, we need to address the elephant in the room. AJ, look at the props. Minus 200 for Umar Nurmagomedov via decision against Raoni Barcelos. How the audacity, you know what I'm saying? Why is Umar is he simply that dominant? And let's talk about the other thing before you answer that. This is the opening odds, minus 550 for Nurmagomedov, plus 400 comeback for Barcelos. You want to know what it is now? Minus 1,000 for Umar Nurmagomedov, plus 650 for Barcelos. I don't like it. I think that is egregious, and I think it's a little I think it's very disrespectful to Raoni Barcelos. But I can't sit here and lie to you guys, man. I'm just cat out the bag. I think Nurmagomedov's going to win. But needless, besides the point, what do you think about all of that?
Mind blown, Derek. People are not giving Raoni Barcelos, the respect he deserves, and full cat out of the bag, full clarity right here. I'm also picking Nurmagomedov in this fight, but I think it's a little closer than minus 1,000, and for a minus 200 decision. Umar Nurmagomedov isn't the smash style of fighter. This is going to be kicking. This is going to be throwing a lot of stuff around, while up and down. Yes, he can wrestle, he can get things going. But Raoni Barcelos is an absolute dog amongst dogs. One of the dudes that's come in and revitalized his own going for it. And a dude you do not want to stand across in an octagon and put any sort of disrespect or any sort of underestimated on this guy. Because Raoni Barcelos will send you home or send you back to the locker room asleep. Raoni Barcelos is a very, very difficult opponent to fight, especially on the momentum track he is. I don't have it up right now if he's lost or won his last fight. I'm pulling it up.
He won his last fight.
Yeah, Trevin Jones, man, taking out these young dudes. And sure, he did lose the one to Victor Henry. But what I think is going to be more of a telling fight right here is the Timur Valiev fight. Timur Valiev. That's really where I think this fight's gonna happen, and that was a majority decision loss. Mm-hmm. So close enough that Raoni Barcelos had an argument to win it, and I think that's gonna play dividends into this one as well. That minus 200 is very disrespectful for the Umar Nurmagomedov decision.
Yeah, I think so too, man. And you're right. While Umar isn't a smash guy, he kind of is a smash guy too. If you look at his last fight, that's exactly it. They both won their fight the same way, wrestling, grappling. They both won the same fight the same way. The thing that's interesting to me is that a couple fights ago, maybe 5 fights ago, Raoni Barcelos defeated none other than Said Nurmagomedov. Let's not forget about that, right? That was a decision victory against Said Nurmagomedov. So I'm just looking at UFC tenure, right? Sergey Moore is off for Umar. You got Brian Kelleher, and then you got Nate Maness. He pretty much ragdolled all of these guys, man. I mean, decision for Maness, rear naked choke, that was early for Boom Kelleher, and then that rear naked choke for Morozov, man. All very impressive victories. This is the biggest step up in competition in the UFC thus far, in my opinion, for Raoni Barcelos. The question is, both of these guys can grapple. Are they going to try to grapple each other? Both of these guys can strike. It's different levels of striking. I would be very leery of just sitting in there in the pocket with Umar Nurmagomedov. But if I'm Umar, I'd be leery of just sitting in the pocket with Raoni Barcelos. You know what I mean? I do think the clearest path to victory is Umar. I think his style is so tough to really dial in on. But if there's a dog here, Barcelos is one of them. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I said earlier, two dogs that I'm really think that they can pull upsets. Unfortunately, Barcelos is not one of them. But I just think that it's egregious the way that they're looking at this. Like, this is just it's almost like Nurmagomedov is coming in and fighting some dude who's making his UFC debut or something. Like, that's how I feel like the odds makers are looking at it. I like a Nurmagomedov decision, hard fought decision, where both of these fighters put each other in a little bit of trouble. But that's the way. I'm not going to put too much, even of a specific stock into this fight alone, because I think this is going to be a barn burner. What do you think?
I think we're in for a barn burner as well, Derek. I'm also going Nurmagomedov decision because I think Raoni Barcelos is such a hard fight, man. You can't just put this dude out. Like you said, you can't put him out like he's a newbie, man. This dude is a 10-year veteran, a grizzled veteran of the sport. I think it's going to be a hard fight. I think we're in for a banger right here. Banger alert warning, folks. Make sure you tune in early for this fight. I'm still going Nurmagomedov, but I wouldn't say he's a live dog. But there's somebody that can get in and make this fight scrappy. It's Raoni Barcelos.
That's right. And I'm going to say, folks, from a betting perspective, this is a stay away. You don't touch this, right? I don't see obviously there's plenty of value in Barcelos here, but I don't really see him getting the victory. Ultimately, I mean, I might eat my words totally, man. But in terms of betting on Umar Nurmagomedov, there's no reason. There's just no reason. The only bet that I would take is a plus 350 submission. That's the only one. And I would not throw a lot of money, but I would stay away otherwise. So, apologies, folks. You see, I get a little worked up sometimes. I'm like, oh, you can't disrespect my man like that. It's like I feel like every now and then, AJ, before we move on to the sleepers, I just want to share a quick story. Every now and then, you talk to your buddies. You know what I mean? Like for me, being in the jiu-jitsu gym all the time, even though you do jiu-jitsu, doesn't mean that you're knowledgeable as a combat sports fan. So some people have these wacky opinions, and you're just like, do you watch MMA at all? Like, have you ever seen it? Are you just like see like what on the top post on Reddit and you just like parrot that, right? So like to me, some of my buddies, like they might have an opinion like that. We're like, oh yeah, bro, dude, this is gonna fucking smoke them, right? Like in their eyes, every one of these savages is Conor McGregor, where they're just gonna fucking dog these people, right? So do you ever come across that, man, where you're just like, or you hear somebody talking about it, not knowing you know what you know about MMA, and you're just like, if only you knew how fucking stupid you sound right now. No disrespect, but do you ever run into that?
Derek, I'm blessed to have a girlfriend that has a massive friend group that here in Austin, Texas. So we're always going to social events. We're always doing stuff. And I've had multiple times where I'm sitting there and just had to turn away because this person I'm talking to has zero idea what they're talking about. Yeah. And all I want to do is show them. Yeah. You can't just show people anymore. You got to get on the mats and do it, folks. So get yourself some training so you know what you're talking about. But yeah, all the time, bro. All the time, especially when we're out watching the fights. There's somebody talking about things to do. And I'm just like, man, come on, folks.
Yeah,
come
it's
on,
like,
man.
Well, go sign up at the gym and go try that out and see if it's successful, man. You out here in Vegas, go sign up at Syndicate MMA and go get your MMA rounds in at the AMI class. We'll see what happens. Either way, folks, listen, besides the point, that's the main card. First main card breakdown of 2023. It is over. It is complete. Take all of those picks, and now you have the reasoning as to why. Run to your local sports book, cash them in, and then thank us after when you win a ton of money. That's literally what we're doing here. However, also, listen, we don't got the same picks, man. So, AJ, really quickly, I'm just going to take a very quick step back, man. One more time. Let's not forget. This is your opportunity, folks. Take your quick little screenshot. This is the picks. Run with it. I'm not going to hold it long because we're moving on to some sleepers. Let's get it, baby.
It's time for some fight night.
And if you ain't paying attention, you're going to sleep on me and I'm going to wake you up.
All right, my man. So listen, this was an interesting card because there's a lot of fighters who I'm just going to say aren't the most well-known. That's all I'm going to say. You have to start somewhere. That's the point. So let's talk about it, AJ. I actually want to start off with your sleeper, my man. You got a fun one. And I want you to just take it off the bat, man. Who do we got here, and why is this a sleeper?
Derek, this one's a very, very fun fight, man. I got Dan Argueta versus Nick Aguirre, all right? Dan Argueta, folks, if you're a fan of New Mexico fights, you've watched this dude on the undercards, you watched this dude grow. Sure, he had a little bit of a underwhelming intro against Damon Jackson into the UFC, man, but this dude is a scrapper, all right? We've seen him a lot, and this dude is very, very a fun fighter to come in and watch. He's going to be pressured. He's going to be putting the pace on. Nick Aguirre, however you say it, this dude is untested. This is his UFC debut. So they're putting up Dan Argueta against a guy who's never been proven, coming in on a 7-0. Somebody, we'll see how this fight unfolds. I don't know if it's a little bit of disrespect that Dan Argueta's feeling, or if this dude is the real deal in Aguirre, because this dude can knock you out. He has a lot of submissions on his belt too. 7-0, like I said, fighting out of Chicago. It's going to be a lot of fun. You can see it right there. A lot of people are leaning towards Argueta, but that submission for Aguirre is very, very dangerous, man. So watch out for this one. It's going to be a fun fight. Not super early on the prelim, somewhere in the middle, but tune in, folks, either way. Derek, what do you think about this one, and who's your sleeper?
I think this is going to be a fun one, man, especially given, Argueta can grapple with the best of them, man, but we have seen him falter a couple times, man, where people just take his back quick, lock him up, and that's the opportunity right here for Aguirre. So I think Argueta should get the job done here, man, but I think this will be a fun fight. However, AJ, I don't want to be a party pooper here. I don't want to be a downer. This could be a hump fest. You know what I'm saying? It could be. You got to get a win on the board. That's what's important for both of these guys right now. Now, as for my sleeper, folks, this is going to be a clear-cut sleeper because of contrast of styles, but more importantly, we're talking about a man in Jimmy the Brick Flick coming out of retirement. Is that ever a good idea? No, especially when you come out of retirement after just talking about how these dudes all have to fight for money and, I can retire and I can do it how I want. And then you come back and be like, all right, well, give me another fight. Well, they're going to give you another fight. But let's not forget, you won your last fight against Cody Durden. And it's a very controversial figure, right? But the point is, Cody Durden was winning 99% of this fight until basically Jimmy Flick put a collar tie on him, jumped triangle, and then triangled him and got him out of there, man. Cody Durden was winning that fight. But then again, you say, okay, well, you got the jiu-jitsu guy, right? Jimmy Flick. Well, he's fighting Charles, Inner G Johnson. Look at his last fight, man. It's August Zumagulov. You beat a kickboxer. Awesome. What happened before that? Makayev put a takedown record up on you, right? So we know grappling is a little troubling, but you also got some big wins, man. This is the big thing that I'll say. Charles Johnson, supreme boxer. Jimmy the Brick Flick, excuse me. This is a dude who's scrappy, who's going to make it a dogfight and can grapple with the best of them, man. But Charles Johnson is a guy who I don't think is going to be easily taken down. I don't think he's going to make it easy for Jimmy Flick to be able to impose his will on him. And I think at the end of the day, man, the big key that you have to take away here is that Jimmy Flick is a dude coming fresh out of retirement. You might still have it in you, but Charles Johnson is a dude who had a real momentum coming into the UFC, and a lot of people have a lot of high praise for him. So clearly you got a boxer versus a grappler, and I think the boxer, Charles Johnson, this is going to be a showcase fight right here. This is going to be his real opportunity to get the job done. And let's not forget, I do think that August Zumagulov's fight, a lot of people, it was a split decision. That's right. There was some controversy on that one. Now, I'm going to say this. This opened up closer to a pick'em than anything else. Charles Johnson has then surged to minus 350 favorite, plus 275 comeback for Jimmy the Brick Flick. So, Jimmy Flick, what did he do? He posted it on Twitter, and he says, I've always been an underdog my whole life, baby. Let's get it. Should be a fun one. Those are your sleepers. And with that being said, AJ, let's talk about a couple of the prelim bouts on the card, man. Not a lot really to break down here, but I want to give the good folks a little bit of an idea of what we have. And this is the way that I want to do it. It's going to be a little unconventional, especially I just really feel like for our audience, the people who are watching this, we know them probably better than most, right? There's a lot of guys you're not going to know on this card, man. So let's break it down. AJ, who's most notable that you see right here thus far on what I'm showing you right here?
Probably Abdul Razak Al Hassan or Alan Nascimento. I mean, other than that, folks, I don't expect a lot of the casuals to really know anybody else. What about you, Derek?
Yeah, well, there's one that I'm hiding from you that they're both pretty popular. But yeah, Razak Al Hassan, Javid Basharat, part of the Bash Bros, right? And then you definitely got, Nascimento, man. Listen, Priscilla Cachoeira versus Sijara Eubanks. That's going to be a fun fight too, man. This is going to be a violent striker versus Sijara Eubanks who can really grapple with the best of them and has heavy hands. But let's talk about this man, Javid Basharat. This is the more successful of the Bash Bros, simply because he's got more fights, right? You got 2 wins, Trevin Jones and Tony Gravely, man. And those are fantastic wins, man. So being that you're spearheading basically what it is in terms of this camp, Javid Basharat versus Mendonça, I believe, this is going to be an interesting matchup. However, AJ, this is not really a matchup that I want to talk about in terms of let's break down X's and O's. It's more of, what do you think the ceiling of Basharat is for Javid specifically?
massive, man, because this dude is coming in, like you said, Derek, 2 wins in the UFC. Trevin Jones, big star, or well, not a big star, but on the rise, not
talented.
contender, on the rise. You know what I'm saying, Derek. Tony Gravely, a dude with a big name, a big power puncher, dude who comes in and commands a lot of airtime, respect, space, however you want to say it. And if Javid Basharat can come in and do that to those guys, now all I think he needs is a KO win, a star-studded performance, and this dude's going to be riding the escalators up to the top, man, not even having to take a step. The UFC is going to be pushing this dude, and I think that's why they gave him Mendonça. Right. Not to say that in any respect or any disrespect for the 13-0 Mendonça, because this dude is a savage as well, but the fighting style he has leads into a very good fight for Basharat.
That's right. And let's move on to this one, man, because this is actually a really interesting fight right here. You guys need to keep an eye out for this guy, Claudio Ribeiro. He's fighting Abdul Razak Al Hassan for a reason. You don't just throw anybody to this guy, Al Hassan. He sleeps people. He puts people in real trouble. But there is one thing that I want to show you right now. And when we go to the Tapology page, and when I look at, let me see, where'd he go? Do you see him on here? Somewhere.
Yep, down, yep.
There we go. All right, take a look at this, man. 10-2, right? Look at him. He looks like a monster right here. Won his Contender Series fight, man. That was so nasty. This dude tried to do a spinning back fist, got caught with the nastiest left hook, right? You got a doctor stoppage or a corner stop, throwing the towel right here, 5th round stoppage. Punches win, TKO. Punches win, lost a split decision, punches win. I mean, this is a dude who is like, God damn, he's knocking people's blocks off. And that's kind of the point right here, man. Against an Al Hassan, you have to throw a guy like this against him, right? That's really the only chance. But you want to talk about some of the toughest UFC debuts. This has got to be one of them. Why do you give him this guy for your debut? Why do you get Razak Al Hassan for your debut? Why do you think?
Because he's so dangerous, man. Because where is it? Ribeiro. How do you say the name, Derek?
Ribeiro. That's I probably
Ribeiro.
It, yeah.
Because Claudio Ribeiro is so dangerous that you have to give him Al Hassan, man. You can't put somebody in there that's just going to be hurting left and right. And Al Hassan is proven to be a warhorse, proven track record right there. And I think that's why Ribeiro is in there.
And if I'm not mistaken, Al Hassan is a legitimate judoka as well, if I'm not mistaken, man. But listen, this is going to be the last one that I want to talk about, and we'll get up out of here, man. Of all of these fights, there's a lot of good fights. You already know that, right? Alan Nascimento, Carlos Hernandez, that's going to be fun, right? You're talking about 125ers. Hernandez coming off of a win against Victor Altamirano, and then Alan Nascimento, man, he's just fucking stud right here. These two fighters right here, Mateusz Rebecki versus Nick Fiore. You need to watch this fight right here. You have a wrestler of wrestlers, a dude who fought in those Russian promotions where you do the temporary tattoos of the sponsorships all over your body. Like, this dude is just smashing people wrestling there. Nick Fiore, this is Calvin Kattar's jiu-jitsu coach, dude with nasty jiu-jitsu right here. So you have wrestling versus jiu-jitsu, and I'm actually really interested to see who comes out on top. Any thoughts on that one before we get out of here, man?
I mean, it's hard to go against the wrestling, Derek, but I mean, if you're the relegated jiu-jitsu guy here, man, so I'm looking for the wrestler to come in, but I don't know, man. You tell me.
There's a reason that Rebecki is like a minus 700 favorite in this fight, bro. Unless Fiore can catch him with the guillotine, catch him with the triangle, catch him with some type of defensive, maybe grab a Kimura or something like that. This dude, Rebecki, man, I think that he's going to go smash style. This is not going to be a fun sight. But Fiore does have a fighter's chance, man. Like everybody else, man. His jiu-jitsu is absolutely slick. Anyways, man, with that being said, folks, looks like we have come to the conclusion of the first preview show of 2023. Pleasure, honor, as always. Love breaking it down over here. And you know where to find us. You can find us on Fridays, right? We drop every Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. If we're doing time conversions, AJ, where you live in the great state of Texas, what is your time zone?
Central Standard Time.
Okay, so that's 10 o'clock in the morning Central Time drops for you Central people, right? It would be 11 o'clock for the Eastern folks. Here's the point. You go to bloodywaterpodcast.com and you just see where the video is. It directs you to everything else. AJ, tell the people what they need to hear before we hop up out of here, man.
You already know, folks. Derek said it best. Go to the site, get your clicks in over there. It's going to lead you to everything else. You can see all the links right down here on the bottom. Make sure you go hit us up on Instagram, follow us there. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. But folks, if you're also wanting to get a little inside information, you see these other links right on this other side, man. Go check out me over there on Twitch, breaking down things early, giving you, I was noticing a lot of other content creators out there that are doing the same things we are on this show like to give you advanced notice on their videos. A lot of them are wrong, so don't take them. You already know where the best content is. But if you're looking for a little early preview, a little early insight that you're gonna get more than here on the show, make sure you go check me out on Twitch, but also make sure you're subscribed so you get the latest and the greatest from your favorite fighter's favorite fight show. You already know where to tune in, folks. BloodyWaterPodcast.com. Make sure you subscribe and share with your friends. We didn't talk about it yet, but we are trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I'm keeping it going. I'm keeping that pushing. I've been telling everybody to subscribe as much as you can. So if you have already, you know we love you over here. And if you haven't shared it with your friends, what are you waiting for? They're not going to like you if you're holding on to money that they could be earning as well. So make sure you share that love. Go and share it with your friends.
And I don't know if I heard correctly, but I think my man AJ just said other people who do the same stuff. No, the same stuff we do. Nah. Listen, this is your favorite fighter's favorite fight show for a reason, baby. You already dig what time it is. Bloody Water Podcast, often emulated, never duplicated. You already know what time it is, folks. That is it for us, and we will catch you next time. All right, y'all. Peace.